Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome, and thank you to those of you in person and to those of you that are joining us on Zoom. My name is Lauren Huso, and I'm a graduate student at the University of North Dakota, and I'm also the co-director of this year's Constitution Day project. And I just wanted to kind of give a little history about the Constitution Day project, and it basically exists so that we can have a platform to share the stories of new Americans that were just naturalized into North Dakota. At its heart, this is a student-led effort where interns not only learn technical skills in media, but as well as journalism and storytelling, and they also get to gain the privilege of hearing on firsthand experiences of the journeys of our newest citizens. We are deeply grateful for the support that makes this work possible, and I want to give a couple acknowledgments to the President's Office, Provost's Office, and UND Connect for all their continued partnership and support with this project, as well as the City of Grand Forks and Dr. Hamzat Kariko for their collaboration in celebrating and uplifting all of these voices that we get to hear today. I also would like to address and thank Dr. Joonghwa Lee, the chair of the Communication Department and co-director of this project. I'd like to take a moment to recognize his leadership and vision with this project, because without him, we would not have been able to do this. So for me personally, this project began behind a camera, and I started off as the photographer for this project, and at first I just thought I was photographing little things of days like today, where it's just the smiles, the tears, the quiet moments between families and stuff. But I quickly realized that I was not just documenting the day, I was preserving history, and each face and story of the people that I've met here today share a story of courage, sacrifice, and hope. That realization also became more powerful to me when I began interviewing these 15 individuals that you're about to see. Their stories highlighted here today have left a permanent mark on me, reminding me the power of resilience, freedom, and the meaning of citizenship and how important it is. I'm also grateful to Dr. Lee and my wonderful teammates here, Kiera and Dylan, and as well as Andrea and Emily. This project is collaborative at its core, as I've been saying, and without their incredible dedication and creativity, I don't think that we would have been here today. And to all the new Americans whose stories we are able to honor with this video. Today, as we celebrate Constitution Day, I hope you take away the same realization as I did, that citizenship, whether gained at birth or by choice, it's a gift that everyone should take advantage of, and every story that you're about to see here today adds strength to our community. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dylan Niemi, and I graduated from the University of North Dakota this past May, earning my bachelor's degree in communications. Before Grand Forks, I was born and raised in a small northeastern Minnesotan town called Eveleth, hour and a half south of the Canadian border, 40 minutes west of the Wisconsin border. I was fortunate to grow up with a roof over my head and 3 meals every day. A day for me consisted of waking up, going to school, practice, go home for dinner, and repeat it all the next day. To me, my brothers, my cousins, and all of my friends, and everybody else that I knew, this was just a normal routine. But to many others out there, this was the American dream. Not having to worry about better opportunities being offered across borders, not having to be concerned for our safety, not having to be separated from any of our loved ones. The only downside of being born in the United States is that you don't have a proper appreciation or understanding of what it took to build the standard here. Brave, resilient people like many in attendance today and those that we interviewed. Not letting obstacles or frustration get in the way of your goal. Being honest, when I first arrived at campus years ago, college was something that I just knew I was always going to do. Being in small town America, you're always just waiting for going to high school, going to college, graduating, and then becoming an adult. Luckily, my mind was open when I arrived here on campus. I met multiple classmates and professors who told stories from all parts of the globe, coming here for all different purpose, making a difference in their own way. My first experience with this was with my first ever class here at UND, a 9 a.m. Com 102 class where I met Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee and Dr. Kim became very important to my time here at UND, teaching me in multiple classes, leading me to multiple internship opportunities, including the one that we're here to present today, the Constitution Day project. I spent my senior year working beside Dr. Lee, Lauren, and Kiera on a project that represents the story of many new Americans. Getting to see through the eyes of so many and be in person for these interviews was something that I felt I needed, and I am lucky that I got to experience. I'm not only grateful that I got to experience this project, but grateful of who I got to experience it with, my professors, my classmates, and everyone here today. I encourage you to tell your story because somewhere out there is someone who's going to hear that story for the better. Thank you for your time.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kiera Musil. I'm a junior, and I'm a communications student. And I was also a part of the project as the digital storytelling coordinator this past year. And like my fellow student interns, I also wanted to share the hands-on learning experience that we had with this project and what I'll carry into next year. I first wanted to add another thank you on top of a lot of the thank yous that you've heard today. I want to thank you all for being here, for your support and participation. Because without that, we would not have this project. We would not be able to give life to this project. So truly, thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for telling your story. This project was such a unique experience, and I think I can say that for all of us from what you've heard from them. Communication at its core is learning, listening, and sharing stories. It's about exchanging information. And that was my favorite part as a digital storytelling coordinator. I got to get to the heart of every single journey, every single story, and hear all of the challenges, sacrifices, triumphs, and hopes that led so many people to citizenship. That was truly such an amazing experience. One of the hardest parts in my role, though, was taking these super long interviews, great stories, and then putting them into 2-minute outlines for my videographers to edit. It was so hard because every story was so rich, every moment, every little detail was so meaningful. It felt impossible to take these super long stories and then put them into 2 minutes so that you could see them all today for all 15 of our participants. However, it was also incredibly rewarding because it challenged me to think of how to honor each and every story, each and every voice, so that everybody could understand what we were trying to portray, what these stories were, and I think that we successfully did that. I also loved that my role allowed me to dabble in the creative side of everything. I got to go to photography sessions, learn how to edit photos and videos, as well as work on the promotional materials. But those technical skills, yes, that's what I took away from this internship, but I really just took away from every single interview a new perspective on our community in North Dakota because of every single participant. I am sad that I am no longer going to be the digital storytelling coordinator because it was just a role that I loved. I loved being in the seat, listening to our participants. But I'm really excited to be the photographer for next year's project because I get to learn how to do storytelling in a different way. So that's really exciting. Thank you for letting me talk about our time. Thank you for letting us all talk about our time. Now it is my honor to introduce somebody who shared her time and her story with us and who will soon share her experience, the First Lady of North Dakota, Kjersti Armstrong.
Thank you. First, I just want to thank these amazing students that you just heard from for taking the time to share our stories. And of course, Professor Lee for recruiting me to be a part of this very, very important project. The students were so impressive. They were so kind, they were so skilled, they were so dedicated, and it truly felt like a privilege to be just a tiny little part of this project. And I really look forward to seeing the other stories. I can't wait. This is, of course, a very special way to celebrate Constitution Day and the ratification of our Constitution. It's, of course, a celebration of the document that forms the foundation of our government, and it protects our rights. It's also important to remember all of the rights that we have and the foundation of our nation. Liberty, justice, and equality. That's what we think of when we think of the Constitution. But it's also important today to think about what it means to be a citizen. How do people become one? For most Americans, that happens automatically at birth. But for millions of people around the world, becoming an American citizen is a dream. It's not an easy journey, but it's at the core of what makes this country beautiful and unique. Today, with all the division and hate and conflict, I think it's even more important that we understand each other better. And the best way to understand each other better is to learn someone's story. So thank you for letting us share ours and let us tell ours. There are endless other stories out there, and today we have a ceremony upstairs with lots of new Americans. I encourage fellow new Americans to share their story. Get involved. Citizenship is a privilege, but it also comes with obligations to contribute to our communities. Don't underestimate your value. You bring perspective, resilience, and insights, and that's something you should share with your fellow North Dakotans. They will benefit and be better for it. So on this Constitution Day, let's reflect on the meaning of citizenship, not just as something we inherit, but something we uphold. Let's honor the journeys of all of those who seek to become Americans, and let's remember, the Constitution is not just a document, it's a living promise that we all own and we all share. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those words. Really appreciate your perspective and for sharing your story with us. Thank you. All right, I know everybody's so excited to watch the video. I am too, but we have a few more points that I have to get across before we can do that. My first thing is I just wanted to thank and extend our gratitude to the Memorial Union team for helping us with all of this today, technical side, building the stage, hosting us in this space. Again, we would not be able to do it without the big army of people that we have, so thank you so much. My next thing is, if you're waltzing by and you're like, wow, that sounds interesting, that's something I'd want to do, we would love to hear your story. And today, we actually have a really special opportunity. We have 2 studios set up on our second level of the union. I'm really bad at directions, so I will try to explain it. But behind you all, you can't really see it, there's a staircase. There's 2 staircases by a fireplace. If you go up there, you take a right and you take a left. We'll have 2 studios where we'd love to interview you, hear about your story, hear about where you're from, and just who you are, and then take some pictures with us so that you can participate in the 2025-2026 Constitution Day project. We would love it. Then my last thing is today is such a special day. Many of you know that. Many of you have been through this process. You know how exciting it is, how it's just, you're gonna be a citizen. On campus, we have the special opportunity to host an oath-taking ceremony, and that'll be up those stairs. Instead of a right, you'll take a left and another left. We just encourage you to share that excitement with everybody, and it's a great time for the new citizens. So we just want to celebrate them, and we invite you to celebrate with them as well. Thank you so much for being here today and for being here to view the video that we've put together, and please enjoy.
The stories you're going to see are truly incredible. They represent sacrifice and they represent opportunity. And when I reflect upon what I hear, I know that my own family had similar stories of people overcoming the odds to become citizens of our great United States of America. And in particular, here in the state of North Dakota, those stories abound. And now we're adding more and more chapters to those stories that represent an important legacy, not only for the individual members and their families, but also for their communities and for the entire state. Let me offer my congratulations to all our new U.S. citizens who make the choice to become naturalized and to join our fine nation and its success.
We know a lot of immigrants and new Americans in our community. Whether or not they have told you, you probably know more than you're aware of. I think telling their stories gives us a good idea of the processes that we currently have and how we can improve them. My mom is very much a self-starter. She had to live in America by herself, to wait for that time frame because you have to be here a certain time before you can apply for citizenship. She had to figure it all on her own. She knows how to find help, but not all immigrants, not all new Americans are that way. She would know what direction to lead other immigrants, other new Americans, but if she didn't do that, they don't necessarily have the resources. And spreading that awareness, spreading those stories, lets other people in our community know how to direct new Americans or immigrants who are trying to figure out where they are, what they're doing, and gives us a better understanding of where they come from.
Okay, so my name is Agnes Carlson and originally from the Philippines. That's where I was born and raised. I'm currently living in Grand Forks, North Dakota, working at UND as Department Support Specialist at College of Engineering and Mines. Me, my husband, and my children went back to the Philippines. That's when I realized that it could be beneficial if I would hold a US passport. And that was kind of like the inspiration of getting a citizenship. The process is very lengthy. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of, patience, I'd say. And then we found out that they put my application in archives. So we finally get a visa, come over here. The trip was the experience, it's like, am I going to get excited? Yes, because it's a different country. Am I nervous? I was not really, because my husband was there with me and then my children was with me. So there is no that feeling like what's gonna happen to my children, they're away from me and whatnot. So it was an adventure. The event itself, to me, it was pretty surreal. You don't know how you feel. Will you be excited, happy? Yes, because you don't have to go through the process. At the same time, you're kind of like losing a big part of yourself. But then it is what it is. And I was glad that I did the process. Generally, Filipinos have a really good work ethics, and I am bringing it in, I'm keeping it. So I think the good work ethics and close family ties. This is a typical or like the traditional Filipino outfit. You can always go and reach out to the senator's office. They are more than willing to help. Find your resources in your community because it's there.
I am Elizabeth Morrison. I am original from Paraguay, South America. Yes, the event that inspired me to come to the United States was a job offer, and I saw it was going to be a good opportunity for new horizon and opportunity. And that everything was new. I need to adjust to the culture, the language also. At the time, I didn't speak English, so I was just related on the family that speak English. I think the thing that stood out to me was voting. I was so happy to start. I voted nationally, and I feel like that was like something that I was looking for that. I think that I was looking for, because I feel like by being American, that means that I can, like, my voice can matter. So I was so happy. I saw so many pictures because I was expecting that day to go and to vote like everywhere else. I would say one of the things I do to maintain my cultural root is to cook the meal from my country. At UND, I joined some cultural group. For sure, I would say that feel belong to this country. Belong to this country is the most rewarding thing. Even though that I went through so many paperwork and so many interviews, I feel like everything was worth it, because being part of this country made me this sense of being part of the country. So as I said, becoming an American, I think it's huge for me, for my country and for my family. And I found so many personal, professional opportunity that help me to be happy here. And truly, I can say that here I am happy because the people, because the community, and the way I feel as calling myself an American.
My name is Fred Amponsa Entry. I'm originally from Ghana in West Africa. When I was selected for the diversity visa program, it was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get into my dream country where I'll get great education and experience in life in a country known for opportunity and freedom. When I first arrived in the United States, I was filled with excitement and nervousness. It was a dream come true, but everything felt new, from navigating the city to understanding the culture. During the first few months, I felt very isolated. I had left my family behind, and not being able to turn to them for supporting. Finding a stable job was harder than I expected, and I had to take temporary and low-paying work just to make my ends meet. The naturalization ceremony was an incredibly emotional and proud moment for me, and I felt like a sense of accomplishment and belonging. Becoming a United States citizen represents more than just a legal status. It symbolizes the hard work, dedication, and the hope that led me here. Now, as a citizen, I look forward to giving back, helping others who are new to this country, and continue to build a meaningful life here. I continue to speak my native language at home, cook traditional dishes, and celebrate our holidays with friends and family. I have over here jersey that is for our national team. We have a particular tribe that they make the beads. So this is from the Ashanti. Becoming a U.S. citizen isn't just a legal status to me. It is a symbol of perseverance, gratitude, and belonging. I am proud of where I came from. I am proud of the person I've become here. Thank you for giving me the space to share that.
My name is Kim Nelson. I come from Canada. I am currently a nurse at our local hospital in the cardiology cath lab area. When I was here for 27 years, I had been in the United States longer than I had been in Canada, and decided it was time to become an American citizen. One of the events that inspired me to be able to do that is I had never voted in my entire life. So I decided it's time. The process started by filling out applications online and submitting them to immigration, and they would send me updates. I had a file started, I had my fingerprints taken again, and then I received a notice that I would have to go through the testing process. But then we all took the oath at the same time. I was the only one from Canada taking it at that time, which was kind of surprising. I kind of expected there to be more people from Canada, but they had us stand up and say where we were from. After we said our oath, we took pictures, shook hands, and that was it. I was an American citizen. The first thing I did when I got my citizenship was I voted. That was the one thing that I really wanted to do. There's a lot of maple leaves. Yes, I do have maple syrup in my refrigerator right now. Yes, I do have my Canada t-shirts. I still have friends that visit me from Canada, and we do a lot of hockey. All the stereotypes are true with regards to things like that. The hardest part for me was finally making that decision that I was going to give up basically my Canadian citizenship full-time. I went back to school at the age of 38 to become a paramedic, which I found was kind of tough, and then carry on, become a nurse, become a highly trained nurse in critical care, just all the things I didn't think I would ever be able to do, and probably wouldn't have if I stayed in Canada.
My name is Veronica Gabriela Tobaya, but my maiden name is Maya Garcia. And I was born in Mexico City. I lived there 28 years, except for one, because I went to be a nanny in Indiana, and then I went back to my country. I have lived here a long time, almost 20 years. You know, we wanted to be able to vote. As a green card holder, you're able to do a lot of things, but not to vote, or, to be honest, an easy process. And as I shared earlier, when she told me you're approved, you get emotional, you know. I said, okay, just wait aside. The only thing probably challenging part was that I didn't go with my husband, like in October, when he went. But it's like, what about me? Like, are they gonna approve it or not? I was working in a school at that time in South Dakota. So when I went back, they got flowers for me and a thank you, like a congratulations card because I became a citizen. The indigenous people from Mexico will wear it. And I also have a molcajete that is made from a volcanic rock, and then you make salsas or you grind your spices there. I love to cook, to be honest. I love to cook, and I always invite people to come and eat. And of course, the language. That changed, your perspective of the American people is not what you see. People try to portray that the Americans are arrogant, that they are prideful, that they are mean, and they are not. Actually, I'm very grateful for that. It's a sacrifice leaving your country and going to a new culture. Even though we are neighbors, our culture is completely different. I'm very grateful, and I'm proud to be an American.
So my name is Louis Archer. I am originally from the United Kingdom. My mom remarried an American who was stationed over there in the United States Air Force. Got her citizenship, and because I was under 18 at the time, I was eligible to automatically gain my citizenship as well. Certainly there were times where I had to go with my mom to the nearest, we had to go to the offices out in Charlotte, which was our nearest location. We had to do fingerprints and all those kinds of things. I know she had to do interviews, and she certainly had to study for the citizenship test. And yeah, middle school, high school, I was kind of learning a lot of those topics in school. So I'd help her study. Moved into a house, and the hardest thing at that time was for me adjusting to a new school system. After about a year, I think I lost my accent completely. And so I remember voting in the 2008 presidential election because I was 18. So that was awesome. I drink tea every day. I start my morning with a cup of tea every morning. Trying to stay in tune with what's going on over there, so listen to the radio over there, My hometown team, so I was born in Norwich. That's the city I was born in. United Kingdom, it's in the east of England. So this is Norwich City. The scarf that they wear, and it's, so they're the canaries, hence the bird. And then there's Norwich Castle. There's a castle in the city there. That's what that represents. Don't remember what the lion represents, but that's on a lot of English symbols. So, but yeah, this is something you wear when you go to those games and those matches, and we wore this when we were there. Big part of my daily life. Always, all the world's problems are solved with a cup of tea. So. That helps me every day. As a green card holder, I certainly felt it was my home, but that citizenship just takes it to the next level.
Hello, my name is Christine. I'm from Kenya. I was born in the city, so Nairobi. So I'm a UND student as well. I work at Sanford as a nursing assistant, and I live in Fargo. My dad had immigrated here into the United States as a war refugee, and after having me and my brother, he decided that it would be best if the whole entire family was together. And so he got his citizenship down here, and then he was like, I'll bring you guys so we can all be together. One of the interviews, they ask you why are you going to the United States, why are you applying? And I was like, I just want to be with my dad. And then when we got here, it was really cold. I remember stepping out of the plane the first time here in Fargo. I was like, it's cold. I want to go back inside. It's really cold. And my mom was like, you have to keep going. We can't just stop, because I legitimately stopped because of how cold it was. But yeah, that was the first thing that I was like, oh my God, this is different, totally different. So the job opportunities, the education, being close to my dad. At home, my parents speak in mother tongue Swahili, so I keep that with me. When I speak to my grandma, I speak to her in Kimeru. I also kept going on with my French. So I just completely all my French studies, so I can keep it up. And so that's how I keep my identity, is I keep speaking the language that I learned. I don't let it faze me if somebody doesn't know it. I also the dresses that we wear, I do that too. If I want to wear something for an event, I will show up in our outfits from back home. It's scary in the beginning, but it gets better eventually. And find a community, because there's always people out there who will be willing to help. So find a community, a home far away from home.
My name is Elperet Molter, and I am Estonian. And I was born in a displaced person camp in Germany as a result of the disruptions of the Second World War. Our country was invaded by Russia, and many of us had to flee. We were Estonians, and the Russians came into our country, and basically anybody that fought against them was immediately put on a list for execution. And so my whole family had to pick up and just go. My parents had to get their citizenship first before I could, taking tests to know all the facts and figures about the United States. And we were then granted citizenship in the United States. Well, I guess the most challenging part was the fact that it was so life and death. You have to really be thankful for ordinary things, food, shelter, you know, and that's kind of what it was. It was just trying to find a place where you could live. And now here, when we got to North Dakota, then we knew that there was a way to work toward this as a goal. Free Estonian Word. And this was a newspaper we got. That was very, very important to my parents, some way to see what was going on in their own culture, in their original culture. My mother wrote a book. It really outlines this whole process that we went through. I'm glad she did it. When we were inside the house with our parents, we spoke Estonian. The minute we stepped outside the house and were in with our friends, then we spoke English. So we were truly bilingual, and I still speak Estonian easily, fluently. It was the fact that there was this assurance that you belonged somewhere and that you no longer could be thrown out, jailed. We had lots of reasons to really be grateful, be very grateful.
Okay, hi, my name's Neil Wade. I was born in England, south of England, and at the age of 2 I immigrated to Canada, and in 2020 I immigrated to the US. I've lived in Grand Forks ever since I've moved here. My wife got a job here in the States, so I followed along. I thankfully had a pseudo-professional career that allowed me to get what's called a TN visa, which is a temporary visa that lasts a year. I quickly got a job for someone to sponsor me for that, and for the next several years I continued to do that process annually. I wanted to become a citizen so that I could vote was the main reason. So I applied. I'm quite proud to say I did all the work myself, no lawyers involved. Being able to vote and other civic duties. I was just recently invited to be on a jury here in Grand Forks County. It's nice to be able to do that too. I'm looking forward to it. This is my home. This is one of the biggest tourist draws in my hometown in Ottawa. It's the Rideau Canal in the summer. It's you can boat up and down. It's a World Heritage Site, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and in the winter the local authorities keep it cleaned and cleared of snow. So I watched Hockey Night in Canada a lot. I traveled back to Canada a lot. We used to go back to Winnipeg several times a year, get groceries. Kind of different from what most traffic is across the border. But I guess also we celebrated the holidays that are different with Canadian Thanksgiving, Boxing Day. Boxing Day is the day after Christmas. It's not really celebrated in Canada in any ways, except for when in older days they had huge sales. It was kind of like Black Friday.
I'm Susan Carraher. I'm the coordinator for the Grand Forks Historic Preservation Commission, and I am originally from Australia, born and raised in Brisbane, which is the capital city of Queensland. So I had been living as a permanent resident in the US since 2006. So even though I was able to work and pay my taxes and I had a social security number, I wanted to have a little bit more of the full citizen rights and also to be able to vote. So, it was almost 2 years that it took for that process to happen, so it felt like maybe it would never happen, especially when you really want it to. But it's totally worth it in the end to go through that process and become a full US citizen. I think one of the most rewarding parts of becoming a full US citizen is the ability to have all the rights of citizenship and being able to vote. We've had a lot of fun with maintaining cultural identity through some of the quirky parts of being an Australian, whether it's sport or music or language. So for my cultural items, I brought a couple of things today. One is a cricket ball, the infamous Vegemite, and then the other piece I brought is a model of a Queenslander house, but it would also sit above the ground, so you would also get the benefit of cooling air from underneath. I really enjoy sharing is about where I am from, and I think it's important to be able to recognize everyone's differences and backgrounds and cultural experiences, and so I've really enjoyed doing that in all of the time that I've been here.
So my name is Christina, and I'm originally from Armenia, where I worked as a high school teacher. And now I live in Grand Forks, North Dakota, with my husband and with my 3 children. So becoming a citizen was important to me because my 3 children, they were born in the United States, and my husband is already a citizen. And also I wanted to be fully part of the country. The hardest part was leaving my homeland, of course, and my family, my friends, and the career I had built in Armenia. And also the long waiting periods for my green card approval were also stressful. And going through the testing and getting the paper finally on my hands. The ceremony was held at the University of North Dakota, which was convenient since it was close to home, and it was a special moment for me. I stay connected with my family and friends in Armenia. I share my culture, my language and tradition with my children and cook Armenian food at home where we can. We also speak Armenian at home, and we visit Armenia whenever possible. This is a coffee pot. We call it jazve in Armenian, and it's like tradition for us. Whoever comes to visit us, the first thing we offer is coffee. And I have the scarf, which includes Armenian patterns. So moving to a new country is never easy, but it has been a journey of growth and adaptation for me. And while I miss my homeland, I'm grateful for the opportunities my family and I have here.
My name is Loseni Belete. I'm originally from Liberia. Came here as a refugee from Liberia back in 2004. And I've been living here since. As a refugee from Liberia, that was part of the process. We came from a war-torn country, Liberia, and the idea was to bring us here and make a better life, gain a citizenship, stay here, and start a whole new life. Probably I was just 4, 5, 6 years old during the Civil War. For me, it was okay because back home I was, going to school, so I got a little bit, English learning, capability. So I studied for the test. Went for the test. We were set up for naturalization ceremony. Mine was right here in Grand Forks in a courthouse downtown. We have a unique community of Liberians here in Grand Forks. We will come out and say, hey, let's hang out at this location today and celebrate our culture. I currently serve as the president of one of our biggest organizations in the United States. It's called the Kwadugboni Madingo organization in the United States. Every year we gather and share our culture, food, everything. This clothing was given to us by the elders of the community. Our community members put it on us in the event. So this was given to me during one of the events in Liberia when I traveled there a couple of years ago. But coming here and chasing those dreams, getting my education, going to school, attending the University of North Dakota, graduating with a bachelor degree, working on my master's degree, getting a job with a university, all that is part of the excitement, the dreams that we all one in our life. And there's still more to come, because as long as we live here, we still continue to chase that dream to becoming something or someone better tomorrow.
My name is Leslie Rowan, and I was born and raised in Brandon, Manitoba, Canada, which is in southwestern Manitoba, about an hour north of the US-Canadian border. Finally got my green card in 2016, after I'd been in the States for like 16 years at that point. And then, didn't think about it for a while. I knew I was permanent, I didn't have to renew every year. But 10 years later, when my green card was up for expiration, then I had a decision to make. Was I gonna, renew the green card, or was I gonna go for citizenship? And at that point, I knew, this is my home, and I wanted to vote, so I started the process for citizenship. And in September of 2016, I attended my naturalization ceremony, and I became a citizen. So other than tedious paperwork, I did have to study and take an exam. But I did study, and I did learn a lot about US civics. So yes, I recall going down to the office in Fargo and having to do an interview, and I was quite nervous about that, even though I felt pretty confident that I'd be able to pass, and I did. So yeah, that was kind of fun. And then after that, it was really just kind of wait. There are people out there that are fighting to be able to vote, and you have this privilege and this right, and you need to do it. I worked hard to be able to do that. The beaver is Canada's national animal. And it was officially declared Canada's national animal in 1975, but it was on their very first postage stamp in 1851, and then it was on the nickel in 1937. So the beaver has been an important part of Canada for many years, and I go home 2 or 3 times a year and I visit my mom, and I bring back certain foods that I like. There's different potato chips that we can't get here, there's different candy bars. In fact, for Christmas now, what I've told my mom to just get us as a family is just get us a big assortment of Canadian candy bars and chips, etc., that we can't get here, and that's my story.
Hi, my name is Nuri Öncel. I was born in Turkey. The United States is without a doubt one of the best places to pursue scientific research. As I was nearing the completion of my PhD in the Netherlands, it felt like the natural next step to seek opportunities in the United States to continue my research career. As a foreign professor, I was eligible to apply for a green card through an employment-based immigration category, which allows faculty members to transition from temporary work status to permanent residency. Yes, it is difficult to leave your family behind, and my wife and I accepted those challenges as part of the journey, so it was a memorable experience for my family. It was a fortunate coincidence also that it happened to coincide with my wife's birthday. It made the occasion even more special. I think the most rewarding aspect has been the freedom to travel without the need for a visa. So at home we still primarily speak Turkish. I enjoy reading books in Turkish, listening to Turkish music, and cooking traditional Turkish dishes. And these practices help us stay connected to our culture and while embracing life in the US. This is the carpet from my grandma's home from my childhood, and this is one of the first memories that I have about that house, about my childhood and the lake. Now, Turks drink coffee using this one. It looks like an espresso cup, but it has tulips on it, about a 50-year era in the first part of the 18th century. In Ottoman history, it's called tulip era, where the nobles, rich, would have fancy tulip gardens. So the United States has offered an environment where I can pursue my research and collaborate with brilliant minds. The support and encouragement I have received from colleagues, mentors, and students have made me feel that I truly belong here. Together we have had the privilege of building our careers and family in this country. It has been immensely rewarding both professionally and personally for us.
I'm Kjersti Armstrong. I'm originally from Oslo, Norway. Live in Bismarck with my husband and 2 kids. I'm a lawyer and the First Lady of North Dakota. So I had been in North Dakota for a long time. It was my home already when I decided to apply for citizenship. I'd been a permanent resident for 20 years. Norway had been home for a long time, and at that point I felt like US was my home. It's where I raised my family and wanted to be a US citizen. So when I first came, it was on the exchange program, and it was the spring semester at UND, because I didn't expect the differences to be as extreme as they are. So just the everyday life, everything, school is very different, so lots of new things to experience and new people to meet. I really enjoyed the people. Made it extra special. I'd promised my mom not to meet an American because she didn't want me to move. And then I didn't tell her right away because I didn't want her to worry. And I called her to tell her, and before I said anything, she said, "So you're calling to tell me about the boy, huh?" And I mean, it was just a wonderful semester. It was at the tail end of COVID. That was such a cool day, and I'd been looking forward to becoming a citizen for a long time, but I wasn't prepared for how emotional it would be to just be in the room with other new Americans and taking the oath. So I think because I moved when I was an adult, I already had my cultural identity pretty ingrained, and also so much easier to travel and keep in touch with your roots now than it used to be. So I go home regularly, and then I really like going home in May. It's our Constitution Day, the 17th of May, which is wonderful. It's not the same to do it here. I do have some Norwegian friends, so we'll typically get together and eat hot dogs and do some of the Norwegian things. I brought Snorre's Kongesaga, which is the Norse king saga. It is a history of Norwegian kings written in the 13th century. Oh, I think it's so important to share the different perspectives. That's what makes it a privilege to be American, all the different components of our culture. And if they share the story, they're contributing to that.